And it's happening all over the nation. So, sir, continue with the new revelations. There's starting to be some press now, and they're admitting, common purpose is going to help the government, and Obama's doing the same thing. Please continue.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's very interesting that the subject of common purpose is now coming into the media because they're having to defend themselves. And they're having to defend themselves because more and more ordinary people are asking simple questions. They're asking what they're doing. They're asking why public money is being used to pay for them. And they're asking why a so-called charity is acting politically in order to change society. Now, one thing I think you said just then, Alex, is that these people are in control. I'd like to say that we're at a very important point because they are nearly in control.
Yes.
And what we have to do is make sure that they don't finally close the door. We know that they're not in control yet, because if they were, you and I would not be speaking on this line. So what we've got to do is to start getting people to wake up and actually see what is happening in their society. Now, one of the key things that has been done in the United Kingdom is that the whole of the government system, and I mean the proper system of government, has been pushed to the side. And what is happening is that the country is being driven by a new sector, which is called the third sector. And this comprises organizations like Common Purpose and charities and partnerships and things we call quangos. They're quasi-government bodies. And these are the bodies that they are now pushing through policy, so that if you are an elected councillor in one of our large towns or counties, you don't know what's happening anymore.
And that is the, to interrupt, sir, because it's key to add this. You're absolutely on target. Everything you're saying is true. The UN model of world government is public-private partnerships, so they have a rent-a-mob to bully anybody out of power that actually really represents the real people. So it's a counterfeit grassroots movement. And you're right, they're not in total power yet, but as you said, they're going after people throwing rocks through windows, bricks through windows, and they're very, very close. I mean, they're openly announcing secret police, military on the streets, all of this, then with their private spies everywhere. Please continue.
Well, that is absolutely true. I can tell you that from the best information that I've got and other people working closely with me, recently the British Army was asked, troops were asked individually whether they would be prepared to open fire on British people on the streets of Britain. And so it is absolutely obvious at the moment when the government tells us that they're expecting violence on the street by the summer. They're expecting it because they are creating it. We have a criminal elite in power, and they now want to ramp up the violence because that enables the close down of the police laws.
And there's good news. I want you to continue. I want to back you up. Denver, Colorado, we were there. We couldn't prove it was police dressed like anarchists attacking other police in staged events, but we said we believed it. Then the Denver Post reported the police admit they attacked other police on news cameras to demonize all protest. We caught them last year at the Global Summit in Ottawa, Canada, and they were there with police dressed up attacking other police. That was confirmed. People noticed their boots were the same as the police, with the same yellow decal, and then they had to confirm the Royal Mounted Police were doing that. We know that the bankers fund through foundations these rent-a-mobs who will go out and do this, and it's been confirmed, as you said, they're preparing for martial law in the U.S. and in England. That's mainstream news. It's been in memos. They asked the Marines, will you fire at U.S. citizens? They're suddenly putting military in all major police departments as liaison officers. That's being announced. And look at Gordon Brown. He swore to let there be a parliament vote on EU entrance, but then he forego that and went ahead and introduced it anyways and is now doing it. Again, this is tyranny. They won't let the Brits vote on entering the EU or not. Go ahead.
That's certainly true. Well, it's obvious that Mr. Brown lies at every opportunity, and his intention is clearly to lock us into the European Union. But if I can just bring you back, because we are in a very, very serious position. All of the things you've talked about with the martial law and the searches and the 50 or 60,000, I'll call them Gestapo, being prepared, that's all happening. But we need to also try and concentrate on what people can do. And one thing which I think you will agree with me is the number of people who are actually controlling things amongst the bad guys is very small. When we look at we've got about 40 million adult voters in this country, and if we can wake up those people properly, then the other side has no chance. They're very frightened of the sheer volume of people. And
compartmentalization, you said the key, you're right. Even most of the minions in these groups believe the propaganda, believe there's terrorists everywhere, believe they've got to dig through their neighbors' garbage. They want us all against each other because they're a very small group that's compartmentalized. With exposure, they'll fall like a house of cards. Continue.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we've discovered is that as we've stuck to a message, which is to explain to people why nothing works in the country, and we've stuck to a message as how it's being done. So we've exposed common purpose, we're exposing members of the government, and then we are showing people that by digging and getting the activities to the surface, something very special is happening. If you take the British police force, it is absolutely untrue that all the police are part of this new agenda. There are a large number of very good people in the police force, but at the moment, they don't understand what's happening around them. So our job is to get in amongst them, to give them the truth, and to wake them up. And that is exactly the same in the military, and it's the same in the government. What we've got to do is get in amongst the organizations and start spreading the message.
Brian Gerrish from England, exposing common purpose and others. Again, you're facing the same globalist crime syndicate that we're facing. We're facing the exact same attack formation, same programs rolled out at the same time. And what you're saying you're doing with success, we're doing. We have police and military sending us secret documents every week that make national news, how they're spying on the American people for no reason. Good Americans, how the war on terror is really meant to steal the middle class's money and literally put us in camps. The police and military are waking up. So as if you're talking to a new crowd here, let's say you're on national British TV for 5 minutes. How do you, with this formula that you've had success with, what would you say to them right now?
Right, the first thing is those of you who know the truth about what is happening, you've really got to tell people. It doesn't matter whether they laugh at you. Some of them will. Some of the people will turn away from you, but you are only interested in the people who believe you, because the people who believe will go away and spread the message. And our task is to wake up millions of people, and we need to tell them that if they don't wake up, millions of people are going to die, including millions of children. I have no doubt that is going to happen in the UK, and I have no doubt it's going to happen in the United States. So don't be shy with the message. Tell them, and you will find people will come on board. And when they say, what can they do? You say the same thing. Tell other people. I believe that the waking up of people is an exponential curve. We've been for years on the flat bit, so nothing seems to happen. But I'm now quite optimistic because we're just at the curve before it really starts to go. And if I think it's the same in America. Somebody in one state has a good joke, and in 3 days, everybody in America's heard the good joke. That's what we need to do about the message that a vicious dictatorship is being imposed. But the other thing you can do, if you want to start the dialogue, is to talk to people about the money situation, because a lot of people have been hurt by the banking collapse, and just tell them that every organization that's up to no good is supported by the international banking elite, because that's a fact. But it's waking people up. So be positive, tell the truth, And you've got to be friends with other people. They want to split us up. They want white against black. They want Christian against Muslim against Jew. They want the lot. So we have to stand together as people. And when people stand together, they are very frightened. That's my message.
All right, let me go over some points here. I've got to have you back and give out any websites or contact for folks that want to help you in England counter this. And don't wait for orders from headquarters. You are the leader. You are the solution. This is classical hardcore tyranny. We have the government's documents scientifically taking over. The reason the same thing's happening in Germany, the same thing's happening in China, the same thing's happening in Australia, England, U.S., because it's the same international banking cartel. They brag about it. Now here's the issue. The enemy wants a fake grassroots movement, and their counterfeit is big and powerful on the surface, but it's very, very weak when you stand up to it. True grassroots is invincible. This is total resistance.